Hi, I'm not Wayne Tuttle, and welcome to another special episode of Legend of the Superstition Mountains. Before we begin, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, go to the About section, and apparently I messed this up last time, but we have t-shirts. Legend of the Superstition Mountain t-shirts in black, gray. We also have Dutch Hunter Rendezvous t-shirts, black, gray, both long sleeve and short sleeve. Hopefully I didn't mess that up this time. So today, on our special edition of Legend of the Superstition Mountains, I'm going to be talking about the recent trip that I went on to Italy, Greece, and then one of the islands in Greece. I got a lot of video of it that I'm going to show, and a couple cool things that I want to show off that I bought, actually both in Greece. So the first place that we went to was none other than Rome, which is probably one of the cooler places that we ended up visiting because it's so old and has so much history. The problem was that because we're on a tour with various guides, that they're kind of rushing through everything. So by the time you sort of went through enough of some place where you're like, oh wow, this is so cool, I want to look around and see this and walk over here, oh wow, I like the just when you were just getting into it, they were sort of like, okay, let's go on to the next spot. I know this is later on in the trip, there was a museum we went into where literally I walked through half the museum, and the tour guide, the lady who was guiding us at that time, she goes, okay, back to the bus. And I was like, okay, I only made it halfway through the whole museum. While we were in Rome, we visited a lot of cool places such as the Roman Colosseum, the Forum, the Pantheon. Well, we sort of visited the Pantheon. We walked around outside of it, but I guess it was really, really busy and we didn't have the tickets for it. It's kind of one of those things of we're on a tour where they kind of paid for the tickets and everything ahead of time and everything's pre-scheduled, but we have like a couple hours of free time. They go, okay, you can go do this, but then it's busy, so we don't have time to wait in line to get tickets for the Pantheon, so it's you kind of just have to not go there. But we got a couple videos and pictures outside of the Pantheon. In addition to that, we went to the Trevi Fountain, where you could throw coins in the fountain. I'm trying to remember what the exact coins mean, but I think one coin the first coin you throw in means that you will return to Rome. The second coin you throw in, I don't remember. By the time you hit the third coin, it's like that you'll return to Rome, you'll have found love and married and all that. So we visited the Trevi Fountain. We had a really, really nice walk back to the bus through Rome at night, which is a lot different than going back during the day, from what I noticed, because during the day you have a lot of tourists and it's very busy, crowded streets. At night it's a lot more chill. There's not as many tourists out there all in bed asleep and everything. But it was a really nice and fun first day. A lot of walking. I think we walked like 9 or 10 miles. And that's just coming off of what was it? It was like a 10-hour flight. So didn't get a whole lot of sleep on the flight, and then everybody was running around the next day. So it was kind of exhausting. We all were pretty sore after that. But it was a really fun first day. We didn't go at all of that in the first day. We only went to like half of it in the first day. We went to the Spanish Steps. I think it was like the Piazza Novana. A bunch of really, really cool places. after we went through Rome, which, well, we did this in the middle because the Vatican is technically considered its own country. So it's considered the smallest country in the world, but it's considered its own country. So we got a couple hours where we walked through, felt like a couple hours, it probably was only like an hour or two. We got to walk through the Vatican on a guided tour. We first went through like the really long line to get into the main little museum bit, and then we got to walk through some of the courtyards and everything, and then into the long, never-ending hallway of all the different statues and everything in the Vatican. It was a lot of art. It's sort of like visiting a lot of the churches that I visited in the past, where it's just a lot of art and decorative stuff on the ceiling and just everywhere you look. Other than that, it's not much. It's just a lot of art and walking. It's a really, really cool place to go to. But we had a tour guide who the whole time was talking. You couldn't hear. It was so crowded and packed. I guess what had happened is that cruises were originally canceled before this, and our tour was originally supposed to be a cruise. It was supposed to be we'd be in Rome, we'd go to Athens, and then we ended up going on a boat and going through various islands in Greece. But I guess 1 week after they like finalized everything for our trip, cruises were allowed to happen again. So what ended up happening is we would go to various places and there'd be a cruise ship, which is why everything was so busy. But at the Vatican, it was literally packed. Just, you were always like right next to someone. You're bumping into them like crazy. And it was very hard to get a lot of good pictures and videos because I'm trying to get pictures on my phone so I can post it to like Facebook and Instagram and stuff so that people can actually see. And then I'm trying to get really, really good video to do this. And I'm trying to have to do both at the same time while walking and listening to this tour guide, who they give you like these little earbuds to put in your ears so that you can hear them the whole entire time. And then the stuff doesn't work half the time. But it was a really, really cool trip to go on. It's one of those like once in a lifetime opportunity kind of things to walk around the Vatican. And by the end, we got to go out we got to go out to like the big courtyard and take a group photo and everything. And it was a really neat event. We did get to go to the Sistine Chapel, which is, it's neat. There's a lot of art in the ceiling and everything. You can look it up and it's like, there's like one picture of what the ceiling looks like and everything. But they have like a strict no photos and talking thing in there because it's a holy place. And, well, I walk in with a camera and everybody's looking at me because, you know, they see me with a camera and they're expecting me to look around and take a bunch of pictures and everything. Which is, it's kind of ironic because they're telling you to be quiet as you like walk in. They're like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, silence, silence, silence. And then they'll start yelling if someone's taking photos or starts to whisper a little bit. So it's a little ironic. But there is a gift shop that we went to after walking through the Vatican. And at this gift shop, you could purchase various items, some religious items, some non, and you can actually have it sent to the Vatican to be blessed. Now, it's not going to be blessed by like the Pope specifically, but you can have various items blessed by some holy water so that I can use that on Sarah if she got really angry and out of control. But it didn't work. After our trip to Rome, we went to Pompeii. We didn't stay in Pompeii, obviously. We went back to Rome and then to Athens, which I'll get to. But Pompeii, we arrive and it's really, really cool. You can see so much because, I mean, it's not extremely well preserved. They act like it's like the greatest preserved thing in the world. It's just because it was buried because of the volcano that erupted there. But you could walk through and see all the streets and all the different buildings and everything. They had pizza ovens and everything. It was really, really cool to walk through and see just how big some of these smaller places were. Because this was a city that was, when we were walking through the Vatican, they pointed out that on the maps in the Vatican, they had it like updated maps throughout the years of Italy. And it was in the Vatican, and on these maps, Pompeii wasn't there for a very long time. And so it kind of makes you think of like, okay, so either they just didn't know about Pompeii, or it was someplace that they knew about at some point, and then after the volcano erupted, they just completely forgot about it, or something happened. But it was never on any of the maps or anything. But it was a really, really cool place to walk around. It shows you just how big that city was. It wasn't like a tiny little city. I knew it wasn't teeny tiny, like a little village or something, but I didn't expect it to be like the full blown out, like they have different city blocks and they have streets going everywhere. They had, I think they had like 2 theaters. They had like their own looking forum kind of area with some cool statues and everything. So it was definitely more than I was expecting, and a really, really cool experience. The next place that we went to was none other than Athens, Greece, which ended up being the place with the best food, in my opinion. I really liked the Greek food, which I was not expecting on the trip. One of the, probably the biggest thing that everyone's going to recognize where we went to the Acropolis, which is the big mountain that everyone had to go on to, where they had all their temples and stuff up there. And then on top of that was the Parthenon, which is the actual temple. They don't mean the same thing. They're 2 separate things. The Parthenon's the temple. The Acropolis is the big mountain. So that was an instance where a cruise ship had arrived, and we had to walk up this mountain And we had a tour guide, so they're trying to explain stuff on the way. But then there's a certain point where they can't continue pointing to the city and going, this is the city of Athens. Where they have to say, okay, well, we'll talk up here. It was so crowded. People just bumping into each other. You have people getting separated from their groups. And then what's happening is they're trying to cut in front of you so they can catch up to their group. And I think by the end of this point, I think my whole group was fine. I don't know. There were like, I think 20 something of us. 27, I think. 29? I don't remember. There were around 30 of us. They all make it to the top. Meanwhile, I'm stuck at the bottom of the crowd because, I was trying to take pictures and stuff. But at a certain point, I stopped because I realized I was not going to be able to catch up to the group. But you just had so many people running in front of you and pushing and shoving their way through that at some point I ended up separated from everybody else. And I sort of made my way up the Acropolis alone in this massive crowd of people, all of which came from a cruise ship. But we made it to the top, and it was a neat thing. When you look at the video, there's a little bit of scaffolding stuff because they're actually cleaning the marble so that it looks nice and everything's preserved. An interesting thing, a while ago, they told us on this trip actually, that back then what would happen is that I'm not sure how much of this is the complete truth, because obviously some of the reason why Rome and those cities are kind of in ruin is because of like natural things like weathering and stuff. It's not all just this, but part of what they told us is that a lot of the buildings and stuff that you hear about or see destroyed a little bit and everything, a lot of why some of those aren't finished and look in ruin and stuff is because what they would do is if they weren't using something, well, let's just take the stuff from that and go put it over here and build something totally different over here. And so there was a certain point a couple hundred years ago where they realized, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do that. And then they started to preserve everything. But during the trip to the Acropolis, we finally regrouped at the top. We got to take a couple pictures of the Parthenon, and they kind of told us, like, okay, we need to meet back down there in like half an hour. And the line, it's the first place I think I've ever seen that has a line to go up and then like a line to leave. Because it's just this narrow path down, basically, like one staircase down. And so everyone's just walking, cramming on top of each other, trying to get off. And we all ended up very badly sunburned because of that day, because we were all just standing out in the sun for like 2 hours. But that was our trip to the Acropolis. We also did a little bus tour before that, where we just drove around the city looking at various places. So after our trip to Athens, similar to what we did with Pompeii, we just sort of drove out there one day and then drove back to Athens. We went to Delphi, which Delphi is like this oracle site kind of thing. And it was believed that many people would go there with important questions and everything. And it'd be like this huge trip to go out there. And I believe they also had the Temple of Apollo there. But we go to Delphi. They have a little archaeological museum, which I don't think I had very many videos of. And again, that's one of those things where they were like, okay, you have like this time to walk through there, and you're sort of like, okay. So I have time to like quickly walk through and look at everything, and then I have to leave. So you don't have a lot of time to like look at everything. But they had a lot of cool exhibits and everything in there. But as we get out, we get to walk around the ruins of Delphi, get to see the Temple of Apollo, which is like nothing now. It's just like the foundation, and I think like a couple little pillars that you can see basically. But it's a really, really cool little city that you can kind of look at, if you can even call it a little city at that point, because there's not that much compared to like Pompeii. There's like nothing there, and it was literally a drive up. I think I have videos too of there's a city that we stopped, well, not really a city, it's like a town. We stopped there to have lunch and everything. And it's this little tiny town, like still like, I think it was like half an hour, 45 minutes away from the actual site. But we got to explore around there a little bit. They gave us a little time to head up the hill. They had a stadium up the hill is what they called it. And when they say it's just up the hill, you're thinking, okay, I walk up this set of stairs and this little path here, and then it's going to be like right at the top of the hill. And I think we ended up walking for like, I think they gave us like 45 minutes or something. I think we walked for about 30 of that, going up this very steep hill. It was getting cloudy towards the end of it. And I think it was a little humid, actually. But we had the sun blazing down on us. Nothing as bad as Arizona with the 100 degrees that it's at now. But we slowly made our way up, and then by the time we got there, there was like a little tiny sign and this big huge field with some like stair looking seats, and that was the stadium. Wasn't anything too special, but it was a cool thing, especially since a lot of people did not go all the way back there. But it took forever and a lot of sweat and exhaustion. After we returned to Athens from Delphi, the next day we got on a flight to Crete, which is the biggest island of the Greek islands. We visited a couple different cities there, including Heraklion and Kanya, but we really only visited 2 big sites from what I can remember. One of those was the Palace of Knossos, which has the oldest known actual road, like stone road, pavement walkway type of thing. And it's supposed to be known as the palace where Theseus went to slay the Minotaur, and that whole Greek myth. But we got to tour some of those ruins, another tour where someone's saying stuff in your ear. And then from there we went a couple days later, completely different area, to Spinalonga Island, which is a leper colony, where they just sort of dumped everyone there, I guess. They sort of gave us it was like probably the fastest tour out of all of them. They walked us around the little island, gave us a quick tour. There was like quick bullet points of everything, and then we were kind of forced back onto our little boat and sped back off to the mainland where we got to go to the beach and everything. Other than that, that's really all we did on that trip. Now, some of the cool things that I ended up getting on this Now, some of the cool things that I ended up getting on this trip, one of which, if I reach over here, some of you have already seen it, is this knife with this little horn attached to it. What happened is I think we were in Crete. I walked into the store and I was looking around. I was just looking to see what was there. I was with a couple other people. And eventually I started walking around, and on previous trips I've bought a lot of knives. So I was like, okay, I'll look at the knives. And there was this one that had like a Templar cross on it. And then I looked over and I saw this one, and I saw the horn sticking out. And I was like, that looks a little funny. Like, imagine you're carrying this knife around. I was like, who would ever have this? But I kind of thought it was cool. I like when I see things that I think are really, really cool, sort of like that Roman helmet I once bought. I sort of look at it and I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like I gotta buy it. And it was only 40 euros. So it's like $42, $43 in the US. So I didn't think it was that bad. It also has on it a little inscription, which I believe is supposed to be a song. I'll get a close-up of it. But I believe it's supposed to be a song. The only issue I had with getting this back home was the fact that it was just so oddly shaped that I had a bigger issue with the next thing that I actually ended up buying, which was a Greek chess set from Athens. And what happened is Sarah and I, we were walking around Athens. We had a little bit of free time to do some shopping. And we walked into one store, and they had this giant display of chess sets. And I'm not like too into chess or anything, but I walked over and I was looking at them, just looking. I was like, okay, they must have something to do with chess here. And I think what it is they're supposed to be like good chess players. And but from what I was told, they're good chess players, not as good as the Russians. But then I also looked it up, and I think there's like a chess tournament there. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is there's chess sets everywhere there. And I walk over, and I'm looking and checking out all the different chess sets. And one of them has these figures. They're like gold and silver figures. And they're metal. And they look like the little, kind of like Greek archers and stuff. They're Greek figures. They're not like the typical chess figures, but they're styled after like the Greek thing. And I thought, that's really, really cool. And so I was kind of into the chess pieces. So I started asking about it, and they told me, yeah, the two chess pieces are together, like the two sets of pieces, the gold and the silver, and that I have to buy the board separate, which I was like, okay, that's a little, why don't you just give me the board and the chess set pieces and make the price the same or whatever. But I guess that doesn't work like that. But I just got the board that was with it, which is a really nice board, but it was wooden, and I was carrying a bunch of metal chess pieces. So I guess I should apologize if any of the guys that work at the airport are watching this. Any of the airports in Sky Harbor or in Newark, which is one of the airports we ended up coming back on. The airport in Athens, in Kanya, if you worked at any of those airports and you had to carry this like 50-pound bag, yeah, that was probably mine, because I was carrying that chess set around. I bought that chess set, didn't realize how heavy it was until they handed it to me when I walked out the door, and it was a nightmare trying to figure out how to. That's why this was not, the knife was not a problem at all. It was the chess set, trying to sit there at the airport trying to figure out how I'm going to make my bag weigh 5 pounds less so they don't charge me an insane amount of money just to load my bag up. But that's pretty much everything that I can think of on the trip. We obviously got a lot of cool other stuff. I always get them gifts so that they can have cool little mementos from all the different places that we've visited. Got a lot of cool videos and photos, some of which you should have seen here. Anyways, thank you for watching this special edition episode of Legend of the Superstition Mountains. Pretty soon, hopefully, we'll have all the episodes together and be able to release all those. And thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell, hit the like button, comment down below, say anything. We answer all the comments that we can. He handles most of that. I just upload the videos and edit the videos and do all that. So when those issues happen, that's my fault, not his. But yeah, just cleared that up. Hopefully this one doesn't have any issues. That'd be really awkward. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you Monday. I won't see you Monday. He'll see you Monday.